Welcome to River City Live. We have a great show today, a very busy show. And speaking of busy, the kids go back to school, just about everybody does, next week. So we're talking a lot about that. But before we go into that topic, let's talk about what else is on the show. And I'm looking at this and I'm not quite sure what exactly that is.
Well, you probably wouldn't know what that was unless you were in the underwater photography biz. And I know that sounds like a very strange thing, but when you see some of the work done by our guests today, you will be amazed. Here's just one of the many photos you're going to be able to see, and then hear a little bit more from Kelly Boston about her photography. She is a former marine biologist with Disney and a photographer, and she takes these stunning underwater pictures, and she uses this giant camera, and she's this big. And so I mean, it's a sight to behold, I'm sure, although obviously weightless underwater.
That is so neat.
How cool, and we'll tell you about that, and also she's got a special offer for everybody watching the show today.
Very cool. We're also talking about DIY branding when it comes to yourself, and it could be something like your resume, maybe social media, and this applies to a lot of people. You might have a job that you're looking for, something particular, maybe a new business, maybe your current business. So definitely pay attention to that, because a lot of really good advice. But right now, let's move this out of the way.
Oh my gosh, I don't even want to put my hands on it, I gotta be honest. Oh, because it looks like it might be pricey.
Seriously, and I guess let's dive into, see what I did there?
I do, I
to
totally
back to
picked that
school,
up.
and getting the kids ready, all right? So one of the things right now that all parents have to do is they have to work on habits to get their kids conditioned for back to school, and we have some of them right now. Number one, sleep. And this is something I've been talking about on the show.
Right.
And I started to do with my kids because they've been up really late at night and they've been sleeping really embarrassing hours in the day. And there's a sleep chart there of when the kids should go to bed depending on what time they have to get up. And this is something, again, we're about a week out, you really have to start with your kids. Children 6 to 12 years old should get anywhere between 9 to 12 hours of sleep. It seems like a lot.
So should adults 50
right?
to 55.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's that chart right there. And every time I look at that, I'm like, wow, my kids are not getting enough sleep.
No.
But you want to start that now. Another thing to do is cut down on screen time. Yes, we're talking about your little devices that they have.
It's hard to do, but you know, this is one of these things, and I think I asked you before if you were doing this as a family where you start kind of leading into it, tapering off.
Yeah.
And the screen time is one of the things that is suggested that you start to cut down on, because as you know, once the school year starts, there is less time for that anyway.
I feel like I always lose that because I'm like, all right, get off your iPads. And then like I'll look and then they're on their PlayStation. I'm like, no video games.
No.
And then they're watching TV for hours. I'm like, oh.
Like, wait, define screen.
Exactly, yeah.
How big is screen? And then eating a healthy breakfast. And sometimes breakfast isn't even in the picture during the summertime because we sleep right through it.
Yeah,
we're super lucky.
I don't know about you, but I get pretty lax with just about everything with my kids over the summer. So the eating habits, they're not that great. So we are cutting back on like just the bad type of food, like the high sugar type of stuff. Again, getting them ready for school.
I remember my parents used to want to do that all the time. They're like, okay, it's a week before school. We're going to start going to bed a little bit earlier every night. And your reasoning is, why? I'll suck it up. I mean, you can do it. And I don't, you know, I don't think it's a bad idea.
Right.
It's just a little harder to stick to, you know. It's so easy to sit here now that my kids are not at that point anymore and say, this is what we did. But
oh, and the thing is, like, luckily I'm at work and my poor wife has to deal with it. And my kids wake up and they always have like puffy eyes. Their hair's everywhere. They're not ready. And she's trying to line everything up and they're moving around like little zombies. So anything you could do just to get a leg up on that will definitely help out.
Sure.
Another big stress has to do with all the back to school supplies and doing that shopping. And on Scary Mommy, there's a really good article. It's a blog out there and it's kind of written in a colorful way. Well, a former teacher wrote this, and basically she was trying to say, do not get stressed out about doing all the back to school shopping. And one of the things she suggested, if you are, you know, one of those people where maybe, you know, you have a tight budget or you can't find anything, don't worry about it and just balance it and stretch it out. You don't have to buy everything right now. Wait a couple weeks, even if you wait a month for a lot of these things, teachers understand.
well, another suggestion that they had when they wrote this article was, let's say you go to buy something and you have to buy a 6-pack and you know you only need 2. From a teacher's point of view, please still buy that 6-pack, they say, because you're going to bring that in and there's going to be another parent who maybe was feeling the same stress you were about all of the expenses. And maybe you can even go in with another parent and talk about which things you're going to buy in bulk. I have some friends who used to go to Costco together and split everything in half. And it just was a really good way to approach back to school. And then brand names. Some of these items that you can buy for back to school, it's suggested on your list that you go by the brand name. And according to Scary Mommy, that is a good idea because while not every item is not as good when you buy the generic, a lot of them do suffer. Like, for example, crayons, Crayola. Nobody argues that they're the best.
And that I see time and time again. It does make sense just to get the name brand because the other type, the generic, crayons, like they're like waxy and they just kind of like dissolve in front of you. Also, even like with the backpacks and stuff like that, it's just better to buy something that's going to last the entire year. So it's important
because it gets expensive at replacing these things.
Well, just how expensive is it to raise a kid?
Glad you asked.
Yeah.
The cost of raising your child for a middle-income family, they can expect to spend nearly $300,000. So are you getting what you paid for? How's that kid turning out for you?
So if you think about that and you add up your kids right now, some of us are over a cool mill.
Yeah, we had to stop at $600,000 worth of children. But that goes for everything, all of the expenditures and so on. Then they go Ivy League and you got to add to that. So.
But you know what,
you
though,
go.
Eden, it's priceless, isn't it? Raising them. You
Yes.
can't put a price on that
I'd
stuff.
do it all again,
But
and
it's
again
funny,
and again.
every year this comes out and they just keep making it higher and higher. And I understand they're adjusting it for inflation, but kids are getting more expensive. And so are their needs and what they
Well,
want.
they'll take care of us when we need it, right?
All right, this conversation's getting me stressed out. So let's move on to something else.